Good evening and welcome to a special meeting of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. Today is November 6, 2015 at 5:20 p.m. Let me call the meeting to order and then also to assure everyone that public notices have been posted according to Indiana law. And let me introduce everyone at the table and also in the audience. To my immediate right is Gordon Rundle, Commission member. To my left is Brody Duncan, Vice President of the Commission. To his left is Rhonda Schwartz, the Secretary of the Commission. And then on my far left is Dr. Terry Reed, who represents the Speedway School Corporation. On my far right is Mr. Tim Gropp, who is the town's Director of Economic Redevelopment and Development. And in our audience, we have Tim Ramey, our Executive Assistant, as well as David Rainey with Veritas Group, who is a consultant to the Commission. So with the confirmation that we do have a quorum, let's move on to the next agenda item, which is public comment. Since there are no members of the general public in attendance, we will move on to the new business on our agenda item. The new business item that we need to discuss is the relocation of IPL power lines at our 2500 North High School Road project. And Tim, I'd like for you to explain the quote and give us a little overview of the scope of the work.
Sure. So part of the overall 2500 High School Road project, we're getting close to executing a lot of documents. We got quotes back and have selected Atlas Excavation as the contractor. We've had a scope clarification meeting, and looking at their timelines, we need to get the IPL power line relocation started now, which they won't do anything until you pay the bill, understandably. But looking at they're typically 6 to 8 weeks out. So looking at the time that we're going to be needing to move dirt right where they're at, it's getting really close to being on top of each other. So what we're requesting to do is to go ahead and send the check to IPL out of TIF dollars today, with the idea that once we close on everything, our first draw that we take out of the sale proceeds will reimburse the SRC for those expenses once we move forward. So we anticipate starting, if everything kind of falls in place here, probably the first week of December is what it's looking like at this point. So we need to get IPL moving to start engineering everything and then getting ready to do the move. Real quick on the scope of that project. So if you recall, right now there is a line that crosses Crawfordsville Road, probably just on the western side of Get-Go, and then it goes to Debonair Lane, and then it goes straight down Debonair Lane, and then feeds underneath the interstate there. So what we're doing is we're going to leave a pole right at the edge of what will be the new entrance. They will underground feed to the cell tower, and they will move the power lines to the south side. Haven't messed it up yet, right, David? And then they will run the main power down the lines that are already there on the south side. So they'll just be on the current poles. They have to upgrade the poles, but all the lines will be on the south side, and then it'll come back across underground. It'll go underground, Crawfordsville Road, closer to the intersection there at the interstate, I-465, and then it'll go back to the feed pole that then feeds underneath the interstate intersection. So I think there's a drawing on there. I didn't know. The red line, there's a red line that's current Debonair Lane that will be removed. Underground feed shown on there, and then there will be a pole here. So that's kind of the scope. The cost to do all this relocation is help if I looked at the number, $221,325.44. So again, we're asking for the SRC to go ahead. It is part of the overall budget already in place. So it's nothing that we weren't anticipating. It's just a matter of timing. We want to get it started now instead of a month from now.
Any chance they could move that commencement date up a little bit? You said 6 to 8 weeks before it started.
It'll just depend on what their workload is and how busy their engineers are, and if they have crews that are able to do it. So it could take less time. Please correct me. David can hop up here.
Yeah, he's correct. So the first thing we're going to do is get submittals from the contractor and start working through that process for both the maintenance infrastructure project as well as the intersection. And we'll work through those, and then and once we have those, I think their scheduled time to start is in mid-November to actually mobilize. They're probably not going to be able to do that just because of submittals and just things we need to do to finish up as far as with the bond and permits. So it's probably going to be mid-December to late December before they can actually mobilize and start. So.
It's going to be a nice little coordination project with.
But during that time, IPL, if this is approved and we can get them paid, they can start their work, which is key because the first thing the contractor's going to do when they mobilize is strip topsoil, start demolition, and really start work on the pond so that they can start working on the storm from that point forward. So
that's not going to interfere with the IPL.
No, in fact, we need the IPL to get their work completed so that we can construct the pond.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
that is the bigger issue.
Right there's that's where the future pond will be.
Yep.
Right there. So, and that's the existing line.
So they're going to take the.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, David.
You bet.
Anything else, Tim?
Well, that'd be the first thing, if we could get a motion to authorize us to utilize TIF funds to pay this and start the process. That's what we're looking for this evening.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the proposal from Indianapolis Power and Light for the work that Tim had just explained at 2,500?
Go ahead.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the relocation of the IPL power lines at 25 High School Road based on the proposal we have.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions?
One clarification, this number is higher than the typical number that you would need to do bids. However, we had clarification from our attorneys, because this is specialized work, that is utility work, it's not something you would
Public
bid
utility.
out.
Sure.
So IPL is the one that must do the work. So that is why we're not bidding this. It's because it's IPL's work, and they're not going to let just anyone go out and move power lines for them. Just want to make sure that was on the record.
Well, thank you for that clarification. So let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the proposal from IPL, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, David. All right. Any additional new business?
Yeah, one more. We'd like the preference of the Redevelopment Commission on another item out at 2,500. As we're getting the Atlas, or the bids back on doing all the work out there, we had an ad alternate that was due to a land swap and improvements with El Rodeo, which includes a new parking lot in exchange for some land that they own in the backside that we need for additional developments. Those numbers came out a little bit higher than the developer and the SRC anticipated they would. In our discussions, it has been proposed that we split that cost. We would do that through a credit on our purchase price, and then the developer would be responsible for paying those bills and taking care of that work at a later date. So this was outside of the original scope. It's something that would help improve and help us meet the vision of High School Road as part of this development. We feel right now we're working towards a finalized budget to get in front of the Redevelopment Commission, but at this time we feel we're well within our original scope that has been allocated and would feel comfortable with being able to absorb this cost.
Okay. Well, I certainly don't want to endanger the vision of the project, and from what you've explained, this is somewhat essential to be able to have parcels that can be developed, sufficiently. And,
Yeah.
do you need a motion for
I think we're just looking for, in general, if we're okay with the concept. Once we get, this work isn't going to be completed right now. However, we will work this concept into the final funding agreement prior to signing it. So it'll be a credit, once this final scope is finalized with Atlas and we get a true number, we'll let you guys know exactly what that number is. And then the concept would be, at the closing of the property, we would have a credit against that, but it would be the responsibility of the developer to come back and complete this work when that is all completed, or when they're ready to do that portion of the project. Again, what this provides us is a better parcel to be able to market along High School Road. If it was just the big footprint, it's a pretty small parcel. This would allow us to have enough land to do something a little bit larger, such as a medical office building or something, so.
Which would have greater assessed value.
Correct.
For
The assessed
property tax
value would be
purposes.
higher. And then also we have, when the new infrastructure goes in over the Circle K property, there's a small little sliver that gets left, and that would be what we're essentially swapping with El Rodeo to kind of complete there at the entrance.
You know, I feel that that's a reasonable approach, but as you'd mentioned, let's see the final budget numbers. What is the thoughts of the other commission members?
No, I agree. I think we get the final number and the final scope and then review it at that time.
And that'll be
I think it's
incorporated
what
within the financing funding agreement.
Yeah, there's still a few moving parts that need to be nailed down between the work being done and the clarification in the scope. And
I would anticipate we would have those final numbers by our regular November meeting.
I would agree, yeah.
Good.
So we had that, I think you've said this, but we had that scope clarification meeting today and asked for these revised numbers. I don't think it'll take them long to get that, so I'm hoping to have that within the next week. And then we can start working on getting all these revisions and bring back an update for the commission.
Great.
Okay.
Rhonda, do you have a comment?
No, I would agree that we move forward on getting the numbers and then revisit.
Great.
very good.
That'll work.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Tim, with respect to that aspect?
Nothing else on 2500 at this time. We should have quite a bit at our next meeting.
Great. All right, let's move on to the next agenda item. We have no old business to discuss. The next to the last before adjournment is the director's report. Tim, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us?
We'll just do a quick update on the Wilshaw Hotel, as we like to do every time. There have been some conversations going. There has been some updates on the Hilton side. You probably saw the RTV news report as well as the article that was posted there. I think there's some positive movement from our conversations with Hilton. It seems that most, if not all, of the coordination items that were being discussed have been worked out between Loftus Robinson and Hilton. And we had a conversation with Wilhelm, the contractor, and they're continuing to be engaged with Loftus Robinson. We're not quite to the point that they're on-site mobilized yet, but some progress. So what we have done is we've requested a meeting with Skinnell Properties, Loftus Robinson, and our team for next week, and that we're getting that on the calendar to just work out some of the communication issues, as well as get an update with everybody in the room to see exactly where we're at when we anticipate to start up. So our goal is to have an update for the SRC on our regular meeting, coming out of that meeting, as well as the council has requested them, being Loftus Robinson and Skinnell, to present to the council on their meeting on the 25th. So we have asked them to make sure they're available for the 25th council meeting, and we'll hopefully have a better update at that time.
Good. Well, we should have a little bit better update at our next SRC meeting, which is November 18th, as a result of our meeting next week. Anybody have further questions of Tim regarding Wilshaw? Or any other project or aspect of, the Redevelopment Commission's work?
I heard the track sold. Heard that
Where
track
did you
sold.
hear that rumor?
I think that's been confirmed.
Excited about that. So excited about that.
That is interesting news that that broke this week. And I know that the Penske organization is committed to the town of Speedway and has really appreciated the redevelopment initiatives that we've had. And I think they'll be a good partner with the town in redevelopment. Great. Does anybody have any?
I just have one
Announcement?
question.
Yes, sir.
I don't remember which meeting it was at, but they indicated that they would go right turn off of Crawfordsville Road onto High School, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yes, so we have several items opened with Department of Public Works in Indianapolis, one of them being the right-hand turn lane, the dedicated right-hand turn lane going on to North High School Road. We have reached out to the team that we met with that committed to that to see where that's at. I had concerns when I got back from my vacation that that wasn't done and the equipment was all off-site, and we have yet to hear back on that, as well as some other questions with 2500 that we need information back from DPW. So we're trying, I know David has sent numerous communications to the team, and I've jumped in and done the same. So we're just trying to get somebody to respond to us down there and give us a timeline of when that's planning on happening. The later it gets, the more concern I have that it's going to be a spring project instead of a fall project, but we're just not getting an answer back at this point. So we're just trying to figure out who the right person is to talk to the other right person to get an answer for us. So it's just been
Okay.
silence. So I will hopefully hear something back and be able to give you an update at our November 18th meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have anything else they'd like to report?
Sure. A reminder that the Speedway Chamber auction is tomorrow night at Delara, 5:30 to 7:30. It's a free event, open to the public, 21 and over.
Great. Brody, Gordon?
No, I'm good.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending our special meeting. I want to remind everyone that the regular Speedway Redevelopment Commission meeting will be Monday, November 18th at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall. So we'll just go ahead and adjourn by consent. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.